Struggling with Live Arena? That was me for a long time. But today, we're going to cover the strategies you can use to make it up to Gold 3, Gold 4, wherever you want, and at least make it past those pesky Gold 1 tag missions you need to get Ramon 2. Stay tuned. All right. If you're still with us, you are probably having some struggles in Tag Team Arena. I know, I've been there too. Getting past Silver 4 into Gold Tag 1 is frustrating. There's a big backlog of people and a pretty hard stopgap there to make it in. And then once you get past, it doesn't necessarily get that much easier to keep progressing as you go. But take it from me, I've made it past those hurdles. I now comfortably sit between Gold Tag 3 and Gold Tag 4, and today I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that I use to be able to do this. Now, there are a few components to setting up tag teams, and a lot of folks think it's just, okay, I'm going to make 3 teams, that's it, and I'm good to go, and I'm going to make it through the missions. The real trick, though, is not necessarily just the teams that you make, but it's understanding how to read the defenses that those teams specifically need to go up against, and making sure that you deploy your teams correctly. And then we're going to give you some sort of weekly strategies you can use to cheese the system a little bit to make sure that you progress up in tiers, whether it be trying to get to Gold Tag 1 or say it's before a PR CVC, what you need to do to make it up so you get some extra points going into that CVC. So as you can see here, I'm running between 3 and 4, but I've got my team set up. So what we're going to do today is we are going to go over to Blaze's account, awesome member of the Waddle. So that would be the group of penguins over here at the Archimelli channel. So definitely check that out on Twitch. But we are going to be creating some tag teams for Blaze. I'm going to walk you through exactly how I create tag teams, what we're going to be looking for, what defenses these might be good going up against, and then at the end I'll give you some of the tricks that we use to progress as we go. So let's go in and dive into looking at the champ roster and taking a look at what teams we're building. Now, when I do this, I normally will go over and grab some kind of spreadsheet, whether that's Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel or whatever. I grab a spreadsheet quick and I throw it up on the screen kind of in the side here. And I start laying out the champs that I have that fill specific roles, because we're kind of looking to fill specific roles within the teams that we're creating. Now, these types of teams that we are creating are really kind of 4 different types of teams. And there are some variations to this in how they go, but realistically, you're looking to create one of these, or at least multiple of these style teams. So you've got your speed tuned nukes, which are things like, this is the very old school kind of a team. You've got Arbiter increasing speed into somebody that's either stripping their buffs or dropping their defense, putting decreased defense or things like that, and then a nuke or 2 at the very end. And they are very specifically speed tuned, so that nobody cuts into the middle and your whole team goes one after another. Now, those are pretty good early on, but as you start getting up in Gold Tag, those kinds of teams fall off a bit because the defenses that are in and so on don't necessarily get nuked through that well. The second team that you run into a lot are bomb teams. This is the teams that will strip and then immediately bomb and explode your team before you can do anything. Those are super annoying, which, fun to build for us. Then we have your classic, call it quote unquote, go second teams. These are the teams that are purposefully a little bit slower, know that they're going to be nuked into. This is things like, Cupidus Venus with a Necrit, or Necrit protected things in certain ways where you're going to be nuked into before you go. And then there's sort of a last category that I think works better for a lot of folks. is, and don't get me wrong, we're going to try to look at building all of these, but these are what I call go first against go second teams. These teams are not necessarily looking to go up against like an arbiter lead and a speed tuned nuker team, but they're good against going against these go second teams. So a lot of teams that you can end up building are in this sort of fourth category that will do well for you. And we'll talk a little bit about how to match them up as we start building out these teams. So now that I have sort of these basic concepts for teams in mind, and don't get me wrong, there are other types of teams, there are other very specific builds, but we're talking more sort of general teams right now and figuring out how to build around an account. So an account like this, what I would do is, like I said, pop up a spreadsheet here, and I'm going to really create 3 categories. We're going to create damagers, we're going to create supports, and we're going to create revivers. Okay? And this all nice and fancy so we can work with it. And then I'll start looking at the account that we have over here, and we'll start putting people into what categories for these teams need to be laid out. And then once we have all of this laid out, then we can actually start plugging them into the teams that are going to make the most sense and have the most synergy with each other. Okay, so once we've gone through and categorized all of our champs into their specific categories for damage, supports, and revivers, the next thing we want to do is start to put the teams together in ways that might have some good synergy between champs. The first thing I usually like to do for this is to pick out the good auras that are going to be set up for the teams. One of the worst things is when you build 2 great teams and then end up with a third team that you don't have any good aura for. And in an arena, you really do need good auras. So the first one is Rhonda is a great one for her 30% attack. And you might have some other ones here that you see, but Wukong is another great one with his speed aura, and then Arbiter is another great one with her speed aura. So we're going to jump right ahead and get into kind of building teams that might go along with these setups. Now, I'm not going to take the time to go through and you know, each one and all the brainstorming that we're doing. If you're interested in the brainstorming, head on over to twitch.tv/Archimelli. That is where we spend a lot of time hanging out, talking and going over what teams to build and champs to build and how to build them and all that fun stuff. But for today, I'm just going to quickly take you over and kind of give you an idea of what we set up for teams. Now, you remember from the beginning of the video, we talked about a few different types of teams. So you have your go first team, your bomb teams, your go second teams, and then your go first against go second teams. And that's sort of what we've set up here. So the first team that we have is your classic go second team. You have Mithrala and either Pythion or Gorgorab keeping you alive. If you are using Gorgorab, you might want to use that as the aura. However, for the most part, you can use Rhonda as a great one here because Rhonda is going to play well with Mashalds. But Pythion in Stoneskin or in Bolster or something along those lines to make sure they stay alive. Mithrala with some resist to make sure that you don't get slept or stunned or any of those sorts of things on Mithrala, and she can cleanse and then throw up that shield. So that's your kind of classic go second team. The second team we have here is kind of a combo team, and this is your go first team into a bomb team. So you've got your Arbiter for the lead for the aura, as well as her speed boost. You've got Deacon for another speed boost going on. You've got Madame to strip and then give the decreased defense, and then Gaius doing bombs and sleeping everybody. And then the last team here is what I would consider that go first against go second teams. So you've got Wukong, which is a very strong aura, but it's not quite as strong as Arbiter. So you're not necessarily going to take this third team in against those strong Arbiter lead, those super speed teams, but it is still a fast enough team that you can take it in against to go second. From there, you can also see that Wukong has a strip, which is super helpful. And then Demitha is built for Clan Boss at like 315. So she can double into this team to provide that block damage and healing. And again, because you're going against go second team, she's going to get that thrown up before that team is going to go. And then you have somebody like Skullcrown and Sinesha dealing with the revives on this one, and Skullcrown for that nuking. So those are kind of your three teams that we kind of brainstormed from the set that we had on Blaze's account. You'll notice that I put UDK down here at the bottom. The reason I did that is UDK is kind of a case-by-case basis support, where if you're going against a Rotos or a specific champ that's doing, individual damage, one attack damage, UDK is really, really good on those teams. If you're taking this in against a Rotos, you're going to swap in UDK for Demitha, and they're going to provide that role, so you're not going to get totally tanked out by Rotos and then lose that battle. So now that we've got an idea here of what teams we're going to build, we want to figure out what champs we need to gear and how we're building them in relation to each other. But don't worry, we're not going to do all of that in this video. This is not an individual champ building video. Come by stream or check out some of the other vids we'll be doing on that. But for today, all we're going to do is go through and quickly take a look at, is this champ ready to go or not? Don't worry, we'll fast forward through all that. All right, so we've gone through the account and taken a look at which champs are built versus not built and who we need to rebuild, and kind of given ourselves a little map here. Red is not built and needs to be rebuilt. Green is currently built A-OK, and yellow is possible, but we might rebuild at the end. So at this point, I'm pretty much going to turn these builds back over to Blaze to build these over the coming weeks as he wants to. We might build one or two today, but this isn't a champ building video. This is a tag team video. So I wanted to go through and kind of talk just a little bit about how you can use teams like this to succeed in Tag Team Arena. Because a lot of what you're going to run into has to do with not just with the teams that you have built, but also how you can read what defenses you are running into. And one of the best ways to do this actually is often I will go set up these teams once they're built in regular arena and just take them in and either auto them against other teams or just try to face off one by one and make sure that team I have is all set up before I dive into tag. Now, once you dive into tag, you're going to start reading some of these defenses. So for example here, right, we've got, let's just take a look at this first team. So this first team is hoping to outspeed you, right? Strip everything off and then block with Foley. This second team is your slower team, right? It's only got Deacon as its aura, so you might be able to get ahead of that with your Arbiter or with your Wukong team. And then you also have Gorgorab here into this team, which again is something you can get ahead of with both your Wukong and your Arbiter leads. So both of these, now you're probably going to end up seeing Georgid or somebody here in Stone Skin. So you want to make sure you're running something that is high enough accuracy that you can strip or live through if you need to on that. And then there are times, especially if you really are trying to progress, especially like on a Sunday before reset, you might need to go take a battle where you win 2 and lose 1. That happens, and that's okay. You can keep progressing through and getting points to keep moving up. And honestly, getting those 9 or 10 points that you're going to get from a 2-1 win is better than not using the key at all, right? It's better than not using this token and just letting it sit there. So we'll read a few more of these teams just to kind of give us an idea of what's going on and what they're trying to do. This team here, you see Cupidus, but there's no Venus, so they're just using Cupidus as a nuker, which tells me there's not a whole lot going on here. Deliana is a decent role, but not ideal. You've then got HP burn, HP burn, HP burn, and a UDK. So you're really looking to run something that's going to knock out folks against that UDK. So that's where your Rhonda or Turvold or things like that are going to come into play. And then this third team here is hoping that you kill somebody and then Heffrax slaps back. But this is mainly just a nuke team that if you can get out ahead of, most likely you can either bomb or use that Wukong lead team against. Keep moving down. You've got Misk Monster with HP lead for the aura. You've got UDK here, so he's trying to put up shields and protect everybody. You kind of got a Syl and Skull Crusher combo here trying to keep folks alive, and then Doom Priest and Wither trying to keep folks alive over here as well. So again, you can run your Turvold Rhonda into this team right here. You can run your Wukong team into this, and you can run your bomb team into this. So this just kind of gives you an idea of how reading defenses is so important in what you're doing, because once you start seeing what those defenses are, it becomes a lot easier to then match up what you're doing against those teams and be successful in Tag Arena. Now, one last thing that I do want to cover before we close down the video is just some weekly strategy. So if you are, stuck in Silver Tag 4, or it's right before, PR CVC, and you want to push up from Gold Tag 3 to Gold Tag 4 or something like that, what I would suggest is running solo defenses way, way early in the week, and then setting your defenses for your tag team arena way earlier than most folks do. So a lot of folks, to farm points, will put in solo defenses throughout the majority of the week, which is why the bottom of the tier is so much easier, and you start seeing those solo defenses coming in because it's way easier to farm. But then come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those folks will start putting in their defenses, and it becomes a push up. During those times, if you're already out ahead, you're set. So a lot of times, set those defenses Wednesday or Thursday if you are really needing to push up, right, for that mission, for whatever it might be. Leave them in. Leave your defense in all week. Don't worry about farming that week, and just use that week to push up to get that mission done. Those are going to be, sort of the best way to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. You're still going to have to do some battles against full teams toward the end to make sure you stay in, but it's a lot easier than trying to fight your whole way up from where you're in the red to actually being in the green. All right. Well, I hope this helps everybody progress through Tag Team Arena. I hope everybody gets through that Gold 1 mission and keeps pushing on up. And if you have more questions or are looking to do builds or things like that for specific champs, feel free to stop by twitch.tv/Archimelli and say hello. So, all right. Well, good luck in your tag teams, and have an awesome day. See you, everybody.